This episode of The Casual is brought to you in part by Squarespace. For all your website needs, Squarespace delivers it in an all-around package to help you build a beautiful, integrated online presence.
Choosing the best of anything is a Herculean task. It's virtually impossible for everyone to agree, but despite that, I'm gonna do it anyway. Today, we're talking about the best Japanese brands of all times. That's right, encompassing both street and designer. So I'm making it difficult, which is fitting as Japanese fashion as a whole is an amalgamation of both. It's 10 in all, so we're here for a longer run than usual. That's the take. I'm Reggie Casual. This is the intro. Neighborhood Japan comes in at number 10. Expected, but deservedly so. Shinsuke Takezawa's Neighborhood, in my personal opinion, has seen better days, but its impact on the Japanese market is undeniable. When it first dove on the scene with its workwear/greaser-inspired looks, it was a first-hand look at how the Japanese could take Western movements and elevate them. And elevated did Neighborhood do. So much so that in the past, neighborhood denim was spoken within the same circles as Ibizu and Momotaro, and some collections by the brand are viewed as legendary. It loses a few points for going in a postmodern tech direction nobody really asked for, but it still holds on to its classics, which is more than enough to keep it firmly as one of the best coming from Japan. Coming in next is number 9. And there was absolutely no way I was gonna miss out on that pun, but I digress. I can already hear the foul cries from fanboys on both sides. Number 9? Really? Number 9 at number 9? But hear me out. The only reason number 9 is this low on the list is because of its impact on the entire market, which wasn't much at the beginning. Years later, however, its impact reverberated throughout all of underground fashion communities to the point where new street brands out west were pulling obvious references from number 9. That alone is commendable, seeing as it was a part of the underground movement and became popularized. Others would probably argue it's too underground, but seriously, it's too impactful to just be underground. Further, many fans of Japanese fashion believe number 9 is probably the best Japanese brand of all time, at least at the high street level. And I don't blame them because I kinda low-key agree. And before Fear of God was hitting you with ripped up flannels and loose hemming, number 9 was doing those looks with the ease several years prior. And while the current number 9 is a shell of its former self, its spiritual successor in The Soloist is equally interesting. And while it doesn't command the same level of interest, there's a reason why Tak is considered an all-time great among Japanese designers and why so many have copied his style for years. Long explanation is long, but number 9 deserves it. Mastermind Japan comes in next at 8. That's right. And what can be said about Masaki Onma? Before there was Hood by Air, Rude, Palm Angels, or Off-White, Mastermind Japan was pulling off high street nearly 20 years prior. The former retail store employee of Yohji Yamamoto in Honma took the high-end fabric approach that no one in street styles was even touching at that time and spearheaded a movement that till this day goes underappreciated. In recent years, Mastermind has been off and on with notable collections and collaborations and infrequent releases. However, its position as a pioneer to pretty much everything now garners it a top spot. Next is my personal favorite in Sacai, and that comes in at number 7. Why 7 and not higher is probably the question here. If it's your favorite, why is it 7, dog? Well, because while Sacai does challenge a few of the top 5 in design language, the fact is the biggest impact it has had is in the last few years. Despite starting in 1999, most labels on this list came out the gate blazing a path through the industry, while Sacai was basically wading in the water, baiting its time. However, make no mistake, Sacai even being on this list is a testament of sheer will on the part of brand runner Chitose Abe. Her DIY deconstructed approach to design has marveled everyone from technical fashion fans to Nike sneakerheads to all those luxury people out there. Make no mistake, if Sacai continues at this trajectory, it will likely outpace all the brands on this list outside of maybe the top 2. Visvim comes in at number 6, that's right. It gets notes for further expanding than any of the prior labels on this list earlier out west, as it's far more accessible outside of Japan. And lest we forget for having very likely in Visvim the most iconic shoe to come out of Japan in the FBT. FBT aside though, Hiroki Nakamoto's approach to garment construction literally sends him around the world, sourcing fabrics from remote cities in Europe or dye techniques in crazy places like Greenland. Maybe not Greenland, and no disrespect to Greenland. It's just, they not that crazy. It's just Nakamoto is that deep into the process. He'll find something somewhere that nobody knows about. And while Visvim is excellently crafted, it does get huge points knocked off for being largely unavailable for anyone in a regular income bracket. It's basically Americana with a Japanese twist for rich folks, as John Mayer can attest. But that doesn't keep people from wanting to own some Visvim pieces. In fact, for many, a piece from Visvim is the ultimate grail. And anytime a goal is having a piece from a brand, you know you have something special in your hands. Now we got 5 left, but before that, let's get in a word from our sponsor, Squarespace. A big part of fashion is community, and building a fashion brand or any business requires a strong one. That's why using Squarespace for your new website might be the way to go. Besides being packed with great website templates, built-in SEO and analytics, Squarespace's new members areas make it easy to create, foster, and grow a community of true fans. Give back by giving members exclusive content, discounts, and much more, all while monetizing your business. So use our code squarespace.com/thecasual to save 10% off of your first website and let Squarespace help you build your brand, business, and community. Issey Miyake. Issey, that's how you say it. Issey Miyake comes in at 5. For many, this may be another controversial pick, but not putting Issey close to the top is just an insult to anyone who follows Japanese fashion. Issey, the designer, has literally helped shape Japanese fashion, and his techniques have become legendary. And while he doesn't run his eponymous label any longer, the designers that do have never strayed away from what was implemented decades prior. To have such consistency and longevity merits attention, let alone for flat out having the most popular pair of damn pants in the market is commendable. And Issey Miyake is respected worldwide, not just in Japan, making it clearly an important label. But honestly, can anyone argue that Issey shouldn't be at the top of this list, or at least close to the top? Come on now. Issey's here, end of discussion. Bape comes in at number 4. Now I know some of you were waiting on if I was gonna disrespect your favorite brand again, but as I always say, just because I don't wear it doesn't mean it's not viable. I'm not gonna disrespect it. Or maybe some of you might be like, only number 4, son? Like, dog, number 4 for Bape? This whole list invalid, son. But wait, let me explain. Bape's iconic status certainly reverberates today. And it is the definitive number 2 in streetwear, as many call it. I hate that word, but a lot of people call it that. And if that's not something to hang your hat on, I don't think anything is. Since its inception by Nigo in 1993, Bape has trailblazed a path not many brands from Japan have done. In fact, it could be said that the interest in Japanese fashion was in large part due to Bape's success. Like, would you seriously be watching this right now if Bape didn't exist? Hell, I shamelessly invoked Bape to get people to check out this very channel. And absolutely no regrets. And it was a legit check video. Pure gold. Plain and simple, Bape is legendary, and nothing I say will change that. It only gets a few points knocked off because after Nigo, it suffered a big creative dent, but in recent years and collections, it seems to be riding the ship somewhat, which is pretty good news to the Bape faithful. And number 3 goes to Undercover. Now, for many of you, Bape and Undercover should probably be flipped, but in a big, beautiful but, Undercover is basically what you graduate to after you found out about Bape and you got tired of it. Just saying. That is, if you ever got tired of Bape. But it's of the casual belief that from a Japanese fashion design perspective, Undercover is a masterclass. From Scab to Fallen Man and beyond, Undercover is exactly what happens when you make your interests and lifestyle wearable, which is what Jun did with Undercover. By employing punk into a design language, he put the movement on his back in Japan and has never faltered. all while using Undercover to respect both technical and street design. No other designer in Japan has accomplished that with such success. This, all while being inspired by Margiela, Kawakubo, and Westwood in Jun Takahashi. Those are three iconic names right there, and what's crazy is many consider Jun the heir apparent to those names in many cases. Undercover is that good. It's basically the uber successful version of number 9. It's truly inimitable. Couple that with its financial success, and it ekes out even the behemoth that is Bape. Number 2. Now, was there any doubt that Yohji Yamamoto would be number 2, or at least in one of the top 2 spots? Was there any doubt at all? If we take a look at Japanese standard silhouettes today, across even fast fashion brands, you can see Yohji's influence. When you go to fashion school in Japan, you have to study Yohji Yamamoto. And when new brands arrive, you can almost predict them to have Yohji Yamamoto influences. Somewhere you could find them, but we're talking about mainline Yohji here, not just the man, the designer. Yohji sparked a fashion movement in Japan that defines Japanese fashion. All of that stuff in one simple sentence. The voluminous silhouettes from both mainline and Comme have been a part of Japanese style du jour for nearly 40 years. There's a reason why something like Y3 works and still continues to impress on the runway somewhat. Yohji's aesthetic is just timeless, was really what I was getting at. And the main lines were subjected to subtle nuances and unspoken references, which is palpable, and Yohji's master tailor status is constantly open on display with a precision that leaves pretty much everyone in awe. But other than that, Yohji Yamamoto is massively successful, so much so that sub-labels had to be made just so people could get a taste of the greatness that is the Yohji Yamamoto silhouette. You don't even have to like it to appreciate it. Yohji Yamamoto is by far and away the most well-known designer brand in Japan from an all-around fashion perspective that is luxury to street, second only to the number 1 on this list. Speaking of which, number 1, Comme des Garçons, of course. So this label became the stomping grounds for Chitose Abe, Junichi Abe, Fumito Ganryu, Yosuke Aizawa, Kei Ninomiya, and Junya Watanabe, among others. And if we take a look at the track record of the label runner, Rei Kawakubo, she inspired Jun Takahashi to start a label and was one of the first to support it. She dated Yohji Yamamoto, is good friends with Yayoi Kusama, built a $200 million empire with her husband Adrian Joff, and still designs a mainline that continues to define what avant-garde / anti-fashion is till this very day. All while studying art literature and being a stylist before actually designing. Those are some chops. Comme des Garçons, the label, has continued to push boundaries, even with street with play and CDG ×3. Comme des Garçons isn't simply a brand, it's a damn institution. And that's not hyperbole. Rei Kawakubo is so great that even Europe couldn't deny her status as one of the best to ever do it, even when they tried to at the very beginning. So no matter how different your list is from this one, if Comme des Garçons isn't at the top or close to the top, then you're just wrong. I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion, of course, but sometimes opinions are just wrong. And this is one of those times. Comme des Garçons is the best label to come out of Japan ever. I'm sorry, it's just true. But to save face, there are some honorable mentions, of course. Double Taps is missing from this list, I know that, but what can I say? It is probably the best fusion of utility and street looks, which alone makes it one of the most unique labels in the market, but due to its fairly low imprint, it never saw massive success outside of Asia. You could say it's faring better today, but it did lose its flagship in Harajuku, even though it still continues with online collections. Fragment designed by Hiroshi Fujiwara certainly deserves a mention, but doesn't make the list because it really isn't a fashion brand and more of a production studio. It works with everyone from Nintendo to Starbucks, let alone fashion brands like Nike and Moncler. Goros, Takahashi Goro, should get a bit of a holler here, but while it's certainly popular as an accessory label, the simple fact is it's far more popular for individuals who buy into the narrative, which is fine, but it's more of a cultish movement than definitive best of the best. Others like Phenomenon, Wacko Maria Capital, Color, Vanquish, and Hysteric Glamour are all great within the confines of Japan, but their impact outside has been a bit lacking. Capital in particular has had new fans growing year after year, but the brand is at its best when it stays at the underground level, despite certain Western groups and individuals doing their damn best to hype it like crazy, which is okay, it's fine, it's Capital, it's good stuff. And that's our 10, but not everyone can have the same list. So, what are your thoughts on who should have been added or left off? Or even better, we'd like to see your list. Or can you scream at this one and tell us how Bape should have been number 1? You could do that. In any case, let it be known in the comments. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion, culture, and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I'll see you guys in a minute.